Good morning. Still, it's morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day out there. Thank you so much for stopping on in on this wonderfully overcast, but apparently not rainy day that it's going to be. We're going to listen to a little bit of Denver today. Not John Denver. John Denver today. Rocky Mountain High is the song that we're going to be listening to today. This is off his album of the same name. This is the first track off of that album, released in 1972. We're listening to this track because it was suggested and sponsored by Gary. Gary, thank you so much for the recommendation. And I see that the track had also been suggested by quite a few people, or at least mentioned as well. So look at Deepu, Eyes of Child, Rad Sensor, Minty Joe. Let's see, Michael Gray, I see you there. Tolmac, David Oliveris, you've mentioned this track as well. You said that there's a cover by Alan Stone. I haven't listened to Alan Stone in a long time, actually. Anyways, thank you guys so much for the recommendation. We listened to Annie's song a while ago, and now I was going to listen to this song. I know that this is a popular track from him because I've definitely seen this mentioned. I've definitely seen like this song title alongside of John Denver, of course, with Country Roads. That song I know. Country Roads, I know. Country Roads. That's a catchy one. But this one, as far as I know, unfamiliar. Of course, as we line it up, it may be familiar. There's only one way to find out. But before we do, Annie's song previously had been copyright blocked. So I don't know if this track will as well. There'll be one way to find out. You'll know, of course, before I do. In this case, but regardless, we will move forward. Here we go. My volume is muted. You may be able to hear it, but I can't hear it. I just realized my volume. There we go. Sorry about that.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found the key for every door. When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away, on the road, hanging by a song.
You know, I actually don't know this song. No, doesn't sound familiar at all.
Already broken, and he doesn't really care. It keeps changing fast, and it don't last for long. It's the Colorado Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. The shadow from the starlight is softer than a lullaby.
I like that tail. It's like a nice tail of the comet.
Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. He climbed Cathedral Mountains. He saw silver clouds below. He saw everything as far as you can see. And they say that he got crazy once, and he tried to touch the sun, and he lost a friend but kept the memory.
This is like a sweet song.
Now he walks in quiet solitude,
A nostalgic song.
the forests and the streams, seeking grace in every step he takes.
It's a really nice song.
His side is turned inside himself to try and understand the serenity of a clear blue mountain lake. In the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. Talk to God and listen to the casual reply. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
Also harmonies on here.
Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Now his life is full of wonder, but his heart still knows some fear of a simple thing he cannot comprehend. While they try to tear the mountains down to bring in a couple more people more scars upon the land. In the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. I know he'd be a poorer man if he never saw an eagle fly. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. Friends around the campfire and everybody's high. Rocky Mountain High, 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 Rocky Mountain High.
Okay, this is going to be one of those tracks that shocks you guys because usually like with a song that like even if I've never heard the song, you know, I recognize that like it's a big song and maybe when listening to it, oh, I recognize the chorus. Oh, I recognize this melody or whatever it might be, even if I don't recognize the whole thing. There's nothing in this track that sounds familiar to me. So there's not even a portion of this that sounds familiar. This is totally new. I know this is going to be one of those videos where everyone says, have you never heard this song? You know, like I'm not of this necessarily generation, but also this isn't the type of music I grew up around. Maybe in the 70s, you know, people were listening to Denver and rock and roll and such. I was listening to soul and funk and jazz from my parents. So, you know, there's a little bit of a divergence. There's a parallel happening in there. But regardless, this was, you know what I would sum this up as in 2 words? A humble anthem. Because, and especially as the chorus went on and it got into subsequent choruses, the second and third and such, and the extra harmony, almost this mountainous choir, this humble, quiet, but a mountainous choir of voices would spring up and sing along with the chorus in the after part. It had an anthemic and a very powerful quality to it. Looking, of course, at the lyrics as well, there's a deep respect and love with nature. There's an almost near divinity into that. And, you know, letting nature guide you and such. But alongside of that all, it's very anthemic, right? The chorus is very catchy and it makes you just want to sing out. And not so much in a diva-esque way, where there's a bunch of vocal riffs, a bunch of perhaps gaudy instrumentation that strips away the intimacy of the music here. None of that. Because there's no extra strings, there's no this or that. It's really just mostly guitar. I see that there may be some dobro and mandolin involved in here as well. You do hear some extra stringed instruments around it, but it's a very, for all respects and purposes, it's a very bare composition. There's not a lot of instrumental flourishes and such happening around it. It really is kind of straightforward. But what creates that anthemic presence? I would say the way that Denver sings, the way he carries himself, and the, I guess you could say, the spirit with which he carries himself vocally in this track. It has this power of a mountainous man. And of course, I'm getting that, of course, from the title of the track as well. But what I mean is he sounds like I guess kind of like the album cover, like he's out in nature. He kind of seems strong without being forceful or aggressive. A gentle giant. He has a gentle giant's charm in his delivery, in his intonations, and of course it moves everything along in a very folky and homely way, which is phenomenal. It sounds absolutely wonderful. And I was surprised, to be honest, as the track went forward. I was surprised that, you know, no other instruments really made their way forward. It was really just a bare, intimate setting from point A to point B. And I'm sure that this is, like I said, I know this is his most popular song besides Country Roads. But I think it's really, really good. Now, I know that seems, perhaps obvious. Well, this is his most popular song. Of course, it's really good. Not necessarily. Just because a song is the artist's most popular doesn't mean it's their best. That's just the one that caught on for whatever rhyme or reason. But this one, for whatever reason, it did catch on. It's worthy, for lack of a better word, of that being caught on. I think that this was a really phenomenal arrangement, the way it all worked out, and I'm very curious about this one, because on one hand, this almost doesn't seem like a song that would hit, and I'm thinking like as a hit. What was it about this track that really catapulted it to the levels of success that I've heard of it? We're gonna find out after we look at the lyrics. He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found a key for every door. Now, this verse describes some sort of, what's the word? Change is a simple word, but I mean more than that. Something's changed within this person to where he's returning home, which should be familiar, but for some reason it's not familiar. But I don't think it's the place necessarily that changed, although it very well could be. I think it's more himself that's changed, and so he's coming with a different perspective. Because he says he left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found a key for every door. That's not literal, that's symbolic. He's had some sort of knowledge. Perhaps it's spiritual knowledge, as it says. It hints at he was born again. When he first came to the mountain, he says, you know what I always hated and I just did it? I always hate when you're like making a point and then like you take a drink or something in between it. It's like when I was like in school, the teacher would be giving a lecture or whatever it might be. And in between they'd take a quick, sip of water. Obviously that's fine. They're choking up and stuff. But like, I'm not choking. I was just doing it casually. There's no reason for that. That was rude. I apologize. When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away on the road and hanging by a song. But the string's already broken and he doesn't care. It keeps changing fast and it doesn't last long. It moves so fast he doesn't really care about it. His life was far away when he first came to the mountains, on the road and hanging on just by a song. Not even by a thread. I love that difference there. Not hanging on by a thread, but hanging on by a song. But that particular string's already broken. He doesn't care. Life's moving too fast. But the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. The shadow from the starlight is softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High. He climbed cathedral mountains. He saw silver clouds below. More spiritual references here. He saw everything as far as you can see. And they say that he got crazy once and he tried to touch the sun. And he lost a friend, but kept the memory. A little bit of an Icarus mention there, in a sense. But he didn't lose himself. He lost a friend. But he keeps that memory with him. And he, of course, hopefully learns from that experience. Now he walks in quiet solitude, the forest and the streams, seeking grace in every step he takes. His sight has turned inside himself to try and understand the serenity of a clear blue lake. Here's what I mean. He's gained some sort of insight. And I mean that in a literal way, like sight within himself, a certain clarity, a certain maturation. That's referenced in the first verse there. Now his life is full of wonder. Before, it was quiet solitude, and before that, it was very desperate. So there's a progress and a growth here, a healthy progress and a growth happening. Now his life is full of wonder, but his heart still knows some fear of a simple thing he cannot comprehend, why they try to tear the mountains down to bring in a couple more people, more scars upon the land. Chorus changes here. Actually, I'm sorry, I skipped part of the chorus. Talk to God and listen to the casual reply, which is also a really, really nice line. The reply is casual. Where is it found? I'm thinking in this particular track, in nature. That is the reply. That is the answer. And the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky, though he'd be a poorer man if he never saw an eagle fly. Right? He's truly learning. He's learning more about himself. He's learning more about the world. He's learning more about his spirituality through nature and through his experiences in life. I've seen rain and fire in the sky. Now, he's not alone. There's a change here. Friends around the campfire, and everybody's high. Everybody's feeling the same way. Everybody is riding that high. Yeah, I did that again just to do it. This is really, really nice. Like, okay, here's what I'm kind of getting to as we pull up the Wikipedia article for this track. Like, I think that this is a really fantastic song with beautiful poetic lyrics that are an ode to nature as well as an ode to oneself and learning and growing. But at the same time, like, this is his most popular song. This is gonna sound dumb, but it's really nice when an artist's most popular song or one of their most well-known songs also has depth to it. And it's not just a shallow pop song that just rides a certain high and, okay, that felt good, but it's forgotten about immediately. This one has some depth and some thought to it. And I just really appreciate that. I appreciate that this is not only just a popular piece of music, but has something to bite on as well. It's not just a pop, it's a bite. Okay, it was written by John Denver and Mike Taylor, and is one of 2 official state songs of the U.S. state of Colorado. Recorded in 72 as the title track, obviously, rose to number 9 on the U.S. Hot 100 in 73. Denver told concert audiences in the mid-70s that the song took him an unusually long 9 months to write. Until we got the birth of the song. In 2017, it was certified gold by the RIAA for sales exceeding 500,000 digital downloads. Rocky Mountain High was primarily inspired by John Denver's move to Aspen, Colorado, 3 years before its writing, and by his love for the state. The 7th stanza makes reference to the destruction of the mountain's beauty by commercial tourism. They were paving over paradise, kind of like Joni Mitchell. The song was considered a major piece of 70s pop culture and became a well-associated piece of Colorado history. It also became briefly controversial when the U.S. Federal Communications Commission was permitted by a legal ruling to censor music deemed to promote drug abuse because of the high part. It's a natural high out there. It's like the mountain air high. Talk to Towns Van Zandt, our mother of the mountain. Numerous radio stations cautiously banned it until Denver publicly explained the phrase "everybody's high" was his innocent description of the sense of peace he found. I feel like that's almost obvious, but some will try to find the mud in the water. He says this was obviously done by people who had never seen or been to the Rocky Mountains, and also who had never experienced the elation, celebration of life, or the joy in living that one feels when he observes something as wondrous as the Perseid meteor shower on a moonless, cloudless night, when there are so many stars that you have a shadow from the starlight, and you are out camping with your friends, your best friends, and introducing them to one of nature's most spectacular light shows for the first time. Beautifully said. It says in 2007, the John Denver Sanctuary drew some controversy after the last lines of the song, which included the controversial lyric, were removed from the Rocky Mountain High stone. Cashbox said the song sparkles with sincerity and beautiful lyrical images. That is 100%. As I mentioned, it's the unofficial anthem for Colorado as well. It was heard in Final Destination. Lana Del Rey did a single. You got all your chart information. Australia 39, Canada 2 and 8, and of course US 9, 3, and 7 in many respects. Really quickly before we close this one out, I would like to see the Rocky Mountain High stone. Really quick. Let's see if we can find up. There it is. Let me just see if we can pull up a good image of it. I'm on the AspenTimes.com. And here you go. It's not the biggest one, but he was born in the summer of the 27th year. It has the lyrics there, which is really cool. I'm curious if... let me go back. What was I? That's really nice. That's really nice that like it looks... I don't know what this is, but like it's right by like a nice little pond here. This little sanctuary in Aspen's Rio Grande Park. Many of the singer's songs are carved in stone. That's actually really cool. That's really, really awesome. Every October, fans gather at the sanctuary on the anniversary of his death. That's just really cool. Like, if you're a fan of John Denver, this would be a fantastic place. And you know what I also like? Kind of according to the song, it seems from the pictures I'm gathering, it's based in nature. It's in this park, just like the song is this clear ode and wonderful reflection on nature. So it's so fitting that the stone is actually not only in nature, but in a well-kept and, beautiful place where, you can go and experience that same high, so to speak, that John Denver did with the nature of Colorado. That's absolutely beautiful. Let me know what you guys thought of it, of course, in the comments down below. Gary, thank you so much for the support and for the recommendation. I hope that this wasn't blocked, but if it was, then Patreon is the place to find it. You don't have to pay or anything. You can just go there and watch it for free. You just need a free account. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here. And buy me a coffee there if you want to, sponsor a song request. I got to plug that in. And that's it, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.